At 11.
Hurricane Gilbert, potentially one of the most destructive storms in U.S. history, is about 335 miles southeast of Brownsville, Texas tonight. This is what weather planes saw today as they flew into the eye of this storm that stretches out for 450 miles. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. The hurricane grew a little more menacing tonight after weakening during its passage over the Yucatan Peninsula yesterday. The storm's barometric pressure dropped over water this afternoon, indicating increased strength again. Hurricane warnings extend all along the coast tonight from Puerto Cana, Texas to Tampico, Mexico, as the hurricane registered 120-mile-an-hour sustained winds that do seem to be picking up. Traveling a west-northwest course, the hurricane's reduced speeds of 12 to 15 miles an hour could mean it may turn north. Correspondent Bernard Goldberg is tracking the storm at the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida, and I spoke with him a few moments ago about where the storm is heading right now.
Dan, Gilbert is less than 340 miles southeast of Brownsville, Texas, moving in the direction of Brownsville at about 12 to 15 miles an hour. That's a bit slower than it was moving last night. Top sustained winds, 120 miles an hour. Last night, those winds were 140 miles an hour. If it continues on its present course, it's expected to hit land sometime tomorrow afternoon. Now, if we play the percentages, forecasters say that there's a 32% chance that Brownsville will take a direct hit. 32% chance. Further up the coast, Corpus Christi, about a 20% chance, and the percentages drop off considerably after that. As we speak, though, Dan, it's moving on what they call a smooth track, very predictable so far, moving in the direction of northern Mexico and the South Texas Gulf Coast.
The storm's been losing some strength, Bernie. Does that mean that the danger has been significantly reduced?
Absolutely not. This is not the time to relax. First of all, the storm may strengthen, but in any event, if you're sitting in Brownsville, Texas, watching the roof of your house blow down the street, it's not going to matter much if the damage was done by a 120-mile-an-hour storm or a 140-mile-an-hour storm. Gilbert still is very, very dangerous.
Thank you, Bernie. By noon today, skies over southern Texas were darkening and winds picking up as the hurricane offered advance notice of the expected arrival sometime tomorrow of its eye over the mainland. And from a barrier island off mainland Texas to Corpus Christi, where all school districts shut down for the week today, residents prepared for the possible worst. Bob McNamara begins our coverage.
Late today, as the Gulf began surging, vulnerable South Padre Island took a pounding from the surf and wind. Cars loaded with belongings streamed off the island even before evacuation orders were given. South Padre's Coast Guard station was shut down, the cutters moved inland, and the island's fire and police departments evacuated too.
I've seen some tidal waves. I've been in a couple of typhoons. I don't want no part of this thing.
The hurricane warnings went up here at 8 o'clock this morning, with orders to everyone on South Padre to be off the island by tonight. But for as long as islanders could stay, they boarded up houses or taped windows in high-rise condo and hotel complexes already shored up at the doors. Still, no one was sure what the fury of Gilbert would do to a house.
If it stays the way it is, I think it'll be here, but if it goes to Category 5, I don't think it'll be here.
All over the Rio Grande Valley, building supply stores had last-minute runs on plywood as people braced for the storm, even waiting lines for nails. Supermarkets, too, were the scenes of buying sprees before people holed up or hit the road inland.
No way would I ride this thing. I don't plan to stop until I get to San Antonio.
And while the poor from a Port Isabel housing project packed their bedding and babies, not knowing where it was safe from the storm, there was no going back to South Padre Island.
Oh, you just take a ride now? Yes. Well, you can't really take a ride now.
Tonight, utilities will be cut off to the island and be left to ride out Gilbert alone. Bob McNamara, CBS News, South Padre Island, Texas.
The main highway out of Corpus Christi, Texas is jammed tonight as thousands of residents try to get out of the way of approaching Hurricane Gilbert. Most have packed the bare essentials.
The dogs, my pictures, and my kids, and my husband's in the car behind.
On a nearby island, more than 2,000 people have gathered some belongings and evacuated.
Tensions are high, you know, people are feeling kind of paranoid.
One thing that got a lot of them going were the old-timers who said, hey,
This is going to be a major.
The shrimp fleet headed into port today, and pleasure boaters scrambled to tie down their vessels and get out of town.
All of them scare me. If you ever been on the Texas coast to a hurricane, you don't want to be here.
Up and down the Gulf Coast, thousands of prison inmates are being moved to jails farther inland. But not everyone who wants to leave is able to leave.
No, I'm planning to stay here because we don't have no money to back away.
Despite warnings, many residents in the path of the storm say they won't evacuate.
We are going to stay here as long as we can to try and ride the storm, but if we see it to where the house won't hold up, we're getting out.
Some who are staying behind say they are already victims. Texas officials are already investigating charges from desperate shoppers that some merchants are trying to cash in on the hurricane by jacking up prices.
They have batteries advertised for $1.77 for D-size batteries, and then when you get to the store, they're $4 a pack for 2 batteries. That's a long ways from $1.77.
Tonight, winds continue to build, and Gulf Coast residents wait to see where Hurricane Gilbert will strike. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Corpus Christi, Texas.
So far, the hurricane appears to have hit hardest on Jamaica, where at least 19 people are reported dead and damage is estimated at $8 billion. The storm hit with sustained winds of 125 miles an hour, with gusts up to 145. In places like Spanish Town, Jamaica, this was all that was left of a schoolhouse. You would never know that there was once a church next door. By one estimate, 1/5 of the island's homes were completely destroyed, with hundreds of thousands more badly damaged. Correspondent Juan Vasquez is there.
For hundreds of Americans visiting Jamaica, the honeymoon turned into a nightmare. Instead of a queen-size bed, it's a mattress in a dormitory.
Never been in a hurricane before. I never want to be in a hurricane again.
I was frightened to death. The resort area of Montego Bay was hit hard by the storm, and although there are no reports of seriously injured tourists, thousands remain stranded. Those who live here are getting over the shock today, but they will never forget the sound of the terrible wind that ravaged their island.
The southeastern part of Jamaica was devastated by the storm. Quite literally, small villages are no longer standing.
Recovery has started. Our priority is to restore telephone and electrical service, but there's a long way to go. A convoy of relief planes is flying into the island with desperately needed supplies. In Spanish Town, they're not waiting. With electricity out, there's no way to pump water into homes. Getting water means a long trip up a steep hill. Water isn't the only thing in short supply. Jamaicans also need food, clothing, and makeshift shelter. In the hospitals, they need everything. Doctors had to deliver babies at the Spanish Town Hospital even when there was no water and no electricity, even in flood conditions.
Very terrifying. The winds howled, the roofs came off, and water showered into the areas. We had to be removing patients.
Today, babies are still being born. The delivery room is in the hall, and so is the maternity ward. The new nursery is the size of a closet. Someday these babies will boast that they somehow came into the world and survived what is being called the most powerful hurricane of the 20th century. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, Spanish Town, Jamaica.
We will be on the air with hurricane updates this evening, and our program 48 Hours will broadcast a special hurricane edition showing what this giant storm has already done, what the outlook is, and what Americans are doing to prepare for its next attack. That's 48 Hours, tonight at 8, 7 Central Time. Now, still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, correspondent Bill Plant on a political shocker. Was President Reagan so depressed and out of it last year that he was no longer fit to serve? Question mark. And Susan Spencer on a new ethical dilemma in medicine. Will fetal tissue cure adult diseases?
Something unexpected will tear Peggy Moore away from her gardening. Pain. Her body's not as limber as it used to be, and even a simple move can slow her down. That's why her next move is to Metaprin. Metaprin has the same medicine as Motrin, and nothing's proven faster for relief of back pain or any kind of pain. It's also gentler to your stomach than aspirin. Metaprin works fast when you haven't got time for the pain.
Hey, McElroy, I thought you were from Illinois.
I am.
Only guys from Kentucky do that with their shredded wheat.
I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Here's how we do it in Brooklyn. First, we break them in half, and then we mash them to a pulp. Add some milk, maybe a little fruit ganache.
Nabisco shredded wheat is great no matter how you eat it because it's nutritious whole wheat with no added sugar or salt.
What do the guys from California do?
They float them.
Why, I like new microwave stuffing from Stovetop.
It's so easy. I can make it with my eyes closed. You just mix it in its own dish, and zap! In 3 minutes, you get your favorite tasting stuffing. See?
New Stovetop microwave stuffing.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
It was revealed today that aides to President Reagan considered trying to remove him from office because they believed his performance at one time was so inept. This happened after Mr. Reagan failed to keep secret his sending missiles to the Ayatollah Khomeini. What the now former aides had in mind was a possible transfer of power to Vice President Bush. Bill Plant has the story.
A former White House advisor confirmed today that in March 1987, he raised the possibility of removing President Reagan from power using the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, which provides for transferring the office if a president is unfit to serve. James Cannon, a close associate of former Reagan Chief of Staff Howard Baker, is quoted in a newly published book as basing his suggestion on interviews with members of the White House staff who told him the president was inattentive, inept, and lazy.
I was surprised to see a lack of order, and I was more surprised, though, to hear staff members say the things they did say about the president not being interested in his job.
It was 3 months after the Iran-Contra scandal had broken, a month after Mr. Reagan's prostate surgery, 2 days after Donald Reagan had been fired and Howard Baker named to replace him. Baker assigned Cannon to talk to the staff, try to assess the situation in the White House. Astonished by what he heard, Cannon drafted a memo to Baker which read, "Suggested priorities. Consider the possibility that Section 4 of the 25th Amendment might be applied. Section 4 provides for removal of the president if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet believe he is unable to discharge the duties of the office." Baker today said that he never seriously considered the idea.
I quickly reported to the staff that I disagreed with that in my meeting with the president I found him fully in charge, fully capable, and fully presidential.
So where did the notion that the president had lost his bearings originate? Baker and Cannon both say it came from Donald Reagan's former aides.
My concern then and today is that they were more loyal to Don Reagan than they were to Ronald Reagan.
Donald Reagan's former associates all denied telling Cannon anything of the sort. But as more than one former aide has admitted, the president's hands-off management style has often led to bitter and divisive squabbles among the staff. Bill Plant, CBS News, the White House.
The Islamic Jihad said today it is ready to release American hostages if the U.S. government shows what it calls some positive attitude toward the Palestinians within 1 week. The written statement from the underground group in Beirut was accompanied by a photograph of hostage Alan Steen. So far, no comment from Washington. Lech Wałęsa met for 4 hours today with Poland's interior minister, and they agreed to meet again tomorrow to set the agenda for roundtable talks between the communist authorities and the union opposition.
A 100 times a day I used to hear, "Mom, where's the mustard?" or, "Honey, I can't find the ice cream." But not with our new Whirlpool refrigerator. The shelves slide out so you can reach food way at the back. And with the slide-out baskets in the freezer, nothing gets hidden away.
Oh, by the way, honey, you see my golf clubs?
If they're in there, you'll find them.
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool.
For the first time ever, Red Lobster presents 30 shrimp done 4 incredible ways for just $8.95.
You've never had so many shrimp, so many ways. Shrimp that are golden fried, scampi you just must try. Shrimp baked with lots of spice and lemon peppers, oh so nice. You've never had so many shrimp at such a price.
The deluxe shrimp sampler just $8.95. Kids shrimp dinner $1.95 at Red Lobster.
We know how you love seafood.
Into the land of heartburn comes the first liquid antacid without that liquid antacid taste. A really good tasting liquid that puts out heartburn's fire. New Tums Liquid. It works. It really tastes good.
Meeting your new daughter-in-law.
Uh-huh.
With dirty dentures?
I just soaked them.
Soaking's not enough. Denture Cream cleans almost twice as clean as effort into 90 seconds.
Twice as clean.
Brush with Denture Cream or Minty Denture Gel.
Health and Human Services Secretary Bowen said today he has not taken a position on the emotional issue of whether to back federal funding for research using aborted fetal tissues. President Reagan is strongly opposed to that idea, but Secretary Bowen said there are, quote, some good pros and some good cons involved. Medical correspondent Susan Spencer explores those pros and cons.
This monkey has a form of Parkinson's disease. The tremors are obvious. But after researchers at Yale transplanted tissue from aborted monkey fetuses into his brain, the tremors were gone. The issue for medicine, will this technique work in people? The issue for society, what if it did?
The question before us is, do we want to open this Pandora's box and find out more?
Today, a blue ribbon panel debated that Pandora's box. Should medical research use tissue from aborted human fetuses? It pits science squarely against the anti-abortion movement, convinced that such research means more abortions.
There will be increased pressure on women to go ahead and consider having an abortion so that they, quote, might be able to help someone else.
The list of diseases scientists say someday could be helped is in fact long. Apart from Parkinson's disease, where work abroad shows some promise, there is potential in Alzheimer's, stroke, spinal cord injury, diabetes.
Well, our preliminary data to date are very encouraging, and I think that we should continue to do research.
The White House disagrees. A draft proposal for an order to outlaw federal funds for research with fetal tissue circulated last week. It stated, an unborn or newborn child who has died as a result of an induced abortion shall not be used for purposes of research.
And to build a whole research institution around something as controversial as abortion, I think is shaky at best.
We might as well turn back the hands of time and say that this is as far as science is going to go, and that diseases for which there are no cures, like Alzheimer's, may never have a cure.
But even supporters of this research agree that there must be safeguards to ensure that tissue comes only from abortions that were going to take place regardless.
It's a very different thing to say we're going to create a system whereby people might have incentives to get an abortion, to become pregnant and get an abortion, and make that tissue available to their family or for money.
The advisory panel will report tomorrow and is expected to recommend that this research continue with safeguards. The question then will be whether in the last months of his administration, President Reagan tries to stop it. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
This house is just lovely, but to the Stevens, it's so much more. They planned the future next to that fireplace, celebrated holidays full of laughter in this dining room, and whispered countless bedtime stories right here. This is where their heart is. This is their home. That's why only one paint was ever good enough. Benjamin Moore. They wouldn't settle for anything less. Would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer.
Whether your taste is for rich, satisfying decaf, or if extra smooth Mountain Blend decaffeinated is the way to start your day, when you've found a naturally decaffeinated blend that tastes your way.
It's necessarily Nescafe.
Rich decaf or Mountain Blend decaffeinated. Only Nescafe gives you this choice.
Great coffee blends to taste your way. That's necessarily Nescafe.
I used to take aspirin for minor arthritis pain, but it sometimes upset my stomach, so I switched from aspirin to Advil. Advil gives me hours of relief from arthritis pain, and it's gentler to my stomach than aspirin. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Why, I like new microwave stuffing from Stovetop.
It's so easy. I can make it with my eyes closed. You just mix it in its own dish, and zap! In 3 minutes, you get your favorite tasting stuffing. See?
New Stovetop microwave stuffing.
CBS News correspondent Bob Schieffer reports from the campaign trail tonight that George Bush and his advisors appear to be euphoric, believing they have Michael Dukakis way down and on the run. Bush poured it on today with what Schieffer describes as the toughest negative campaign rhetoric Bush has used to date. Bush said that if Dukakis is elected, there will be a recession, taxes will go up, and so will interest rates. Dukakis, when asked for a response, cited his record as governor. Senator Dan Quayle insisted today he is fully qualified to be president, should that become necessary. He was responding to Dukakis' questions about his qualifications as compared with those of Senator Lloyd Millard Benson, Quayle's opponent for the vice presidency. Aides to Dukakis are expected to announce tomorrow plans for boosting minority participation in the campaign and a voter registration drive. These are key concerns of Jesse Jackson, unresolved since the Democratic convention. Still up in the air is Jackson's day-to-day role in the campaign. As Betsy Aaron reports tonight, the pressure is on to settle that too.
The next president of the United States of America, Governor Michael Dukakis.
On August 22nd in Atlanta, there was a staged love-in. Dukakis and Benson and Jackson and the Blacks.
I hope we can enlist every single one of you in this cause. Every single one of you in this cause. We're going to need you. We want you. We can't win without you.
That was then.
Thank you.
Between then and now, the relationship has been on hold. Dukakis all but ignoring the exciting, effective, but controversial Jackson. Now, with the election just 2 months away, with Dukakis dangerously down in the polls, the Democrats can take no vote for granted, not even the so-called black pocket vote. But a disgruntled Jackson could discourage high black turnout. So Dukakis is turning to him for help, even though he knows Jackson is controversial.
The reason why he's controversial is primarily that he has a left agenda, not because he's a black. The problem is that Dukakis can't campaign to that constituency, because if he does, he'll probably lose 2 votes for every one he might gain.
Take Georgia, a state Jackson won in the primaries. Even here, there is controversy over Jackson participation.
The Democrats are walking a tight wire with this. The Jesse vote, or the black vote, is absolutely mandatory for the Democrats to even do well. We're not even talking about winning, we're talking about doing well. But let Jesse out and put him on the front stage, and he will defeat the Democrats single-handedly.
And this from Tyrone Brooks, the man who ran Jackson's Georgia campaign in 1984.
But the conservative white voter will run from Jesse Jackson. They love to go and hear him speak. They'll applaud, but they will never vote for him. And they really don't want to see Jesse that close to the President of the United States. That's the fear in white America.
And it's Bubba who elects our president. Not the blacks, not the upper middle class whites. It's that broad middle class. They don't like Jesse, and they don't like Jesse's politics. And it's a racial problem there also. It's no use to skirt around that.
But like it or not, Jesse Jackson is a power to be reckoned with in the Democratic Party. So Michael Dukakis has decided Jackson's positives outweigh his negatives.
He's an important player in this campaign, and we will not abandon Jesse Jackson because the right wing of this country wants us to.
If this Dukakis-Jackson marriage of convenience holds, as a full participant, Jackson can expect to reap the rewards of a Democratic victory, as well as his share of the responsibility for a Democratic defeat. Betsy Aaron, CBS News, New York.
Major defeat today for gun control advocates. The House of Representatives rejected a 7-day waiting period for handgun purchases. The vote, 228 to 182.
If you could taste time, caring, dedication, if you could taste the sun, rain, fresh air, if you could taste tradition and pride, this is what it would taste like every time. With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
Splish splash, I was taking a bath long about a Saturday night. Gloved up, got a clog in my tub, so I jumped out and fixed it up right. Just poured in liquid Drano, soon the clog was all gone. If they call it liquid Drano, baby, know it's real strong. Yipes, types, and it won't hurt your pipes. Metal pipes or plastic, liquid Drano's just fantastic. Now I'm splishing and I'm splashing.
Liquid Drano, the liquid strong enough to be called Drano.
How do you figure your financial future? How do you get an advantage? Look for an edge. Look for a company that can sharpen your opportunities in mutual funds, pensions, IRAs, employee benefit plans, insurance, and much more. Look for the Principal Edge from the Principal Financial Group, one of America's largest, helping people with the fine points of their financial future. The Principal. Look for the edge.
The International Olympic Committee voted today to stage the 1994 Winter Olympics in Lillehammer, Norway. The 94 Games will be the first to be held in a non-Summer Olympic year. This year's Summer Olympics open Saturday in Seoul, South Korea. As always, the Games are the culmination of a dream for thousands of athletes. But this year, they also fulfill a dream for the host country. Bob Simon reports on South Korea's Olympic achievement.
The world is coming here to play. What does that mean for Koreans? It means work. That's the only game the Koreans know. It's the song they sing, the psalm of salesmanship, of toil and perseverance. This is a Korean lawnmower. Any nation would spruce up a bit before hosting the Olympics, but how many would change their form of government? Korea held democratic elections last December, the first in a generation, and people here will tell you it was because of the Olympics. The entire country is erupting in fits of spontaneous regimentation. That's the Korean way. Go wild, but don't step out of line. It cuts across generations. This is what the Young Men's Club of a village does for fun. While in the shadow of Seoul Stadium, old men act out their synchronized celebrations of life. The Olympics crown Korea's prosperity and political progress, and for the next struggle, the torch is being passed to another generation. Unification with the North is the new battle cry of the students, expressed in their demonstration sport, regimented rioting, played according to the strictest rules. Revolutionary slogans are memorized like the mantras of Buddhist monks in Korea's oldest temple. The same beat, the same prayer, unification. In Korea, there are no different drummers.
I like to have the small size.
Foreigners, Koreans have been working on it. These department store salespeople are being prepared for the Olympic invasion with a session of role-playing. The American client with an unlimited line of credit cards. His difficult, dissatisfied wife.
Oh, it's too small.
Everything in Korea becomes a contest. This taxi driver just won a competition for learning English. 161 countries are coming now, only a few possible spoilers, and Korea's been preparing for that too. Not much difference between this kind of training and this kind, but for Koreans there's never been much difference between work and play. They are savoring this moment, this honeymoon. They've risen like a phoenix from the ashes of war. What they yearn for now is unification. They're working on it. Bob Simon, CBS News, Gyeongju.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Until our special live hurricane edition of 48 Hours at 8 o'clock, 7 Central Time, Dan Rather. See you again shortly.
This is CBS.